So one of the things with the gym, as far as, becoming a better sprinter, becoming a faster athlete, becoming a more explosive athlete, one of the things we need to be very conscious of is how many different signals are we sending to the body at any given time, and is the number of different signals we're sending to the body, is it too much? And what I mean by that is, if you send 20 different signals to the body with different exercises, different rep schemes, different types of work, how can you predict which one of those your body is going to adapt to most? And also, how diluted are those adaptations going to be? If you go into the gym, for sort of an extreme example, and all you do are 1 rep maxes, well, for a little while, you'll probably get much stronger in that 1 rep max. Obviously, you can't do that every day or every week. It's just you're gonna burn out. But just as an extreme example, like that would be a very pointed program where you can be very certain that the adaptations you're going to get are going to be in one specific direction. On the opposite end of the spectrum, if you go into the gym and you try to work max strength, then you try to work power output, then you try to work reactive strength, then you do strength endurance, and then you finish with a conditioning activity, now you're sending completely different signals to the body, and you're going to have no idea which one of those is going to be most effective or going to result in results. And similarly, if you do too many different things in one session, then you're going to dilute the results of any one of those exercises or any one of those schemes of work. So as you're going about setting up a program to do in the gym so you can get faster or become a more explosive athlete, then the work that you are planning to do within a given session or within a cycle of training needs to be pretty targeted toward the qualities that you're trying to develop, that you've assessed you need to develop in order to become a better athlete. So this can be related to the exercises you select. If you go in and you do 20 different exercises, it's probably a bit too much. Maybe you can get away with doing 1 to 3 main lifts and 1 to 3 accessory exercises, so that way you can still work a strength lift, maybe a power or a rate of force development or explosiveness type lift, and then you can also do things like work on your calves, your hamstrings, your hip flexors, your core. If you pick 1 to 3 main lifts and 1 to 3 accessory lifts, that's enough to target the things you need to target while not being so overboard that you either A, just get burnt out, or B, you're sending too many different signals to the body and diluting the effects of your training. The other thing to consider is the rep schemes or the duration of work, and I think this is really important when it comes to trying to drive certain physiological adaptations in the body. If we want to create a certain change in the body, we really need to think about the duration of effort that the athlete is working in the lifts that they choose. So if you have one exercise where you're doing 5 sets of 2 at a really high load, but then you have a bunch of other exercises where you're doing 3 sets of 20 and you're doing more of a strength endurance or a conditioning type stimulus, well, those durations of effort are so different that you're going to be sending different signals to the body, and you're going to have a low probability of being able to predict which one of those your body's going to adapt to. So if you're going into the gym and you want to work on power output, then you need to be doing 3 to 5 reps or maybe 3 to 8 seconds of work in those lifts that you're doing or the exercises that you choose, and the different exercises you do in that workout should fall pretty close to that. Now if you're doing a really low intensity exercise as an accessory part of your workout, you can probably get away with going a little bit longer just because it's not super intense. But as far as the work that's really going to tire you out or really demand a lot of effort from the body, you really want those exercises, the really high effort exercises, to all be put into the program or put into that workout with a similar rep scheme, or more importantly, a similar duration of effort. A certain exercise might take more time to complete a rep, so that's where I think the duration of effort kind of can be helpful. If you want to develop the ATP creatine phosphate system and work on power output and explosiveness and all that, 3 to 5 seconds might be a good range to go to, and maybe most of the work that you do in that workout should be in that 3 to 5 second range. If you were trying to develop strength endurance, then obviously you'd be doing something different. But the point is, we don't want to mix hugely different rep schemes, hugely different durations of effort in the same workout, because you're not going to be able to know which of those things your body's going to adapt to. And if you're trying to get really powerful and really explosive, you're going to dilute those explosive adaptations by doing things that are in the 20 or 30 second duration of effort range. You know, you're going to maybe get a little more explosive, but not that much more explosive if you're mixing those different types of efforts into your workout. So, you know, you really want to avoid combining high output work with endurance work. I really think those should be done on separate days, and the emphasis within a cycle should also be separated. So you can still do some endurance work during a max strength or a max power output or rate of force development oriented training cycle, but we don't want that to dominate the program, and it should be done on maybe lower intensity days with tempo endurance or work in the pool or something like that. We also want to avoid, you know, doing so much work that it takes you in a direction other than you're trying to go. So what I mean by that is, if you're trying to improve your rate of force development, which is a very, you know, neurologically demanding task, then you should not be doing things that are super slow and take forever to produce force. So the moral of the story here is, any workout that you do, you want to make sure that the themes you are, you know, training and the stimulus you're giving to the body is consistent with the types of adaptations you're trying to achieve, and that you don't mix and match very different types of work into the same session. Maybe one day you could have a more power output or explosiveness oriented session, and then another day you do your endurance work. But you really should not combine them into the same day. You know, maybe in the off season you could do lifting at one point in the day and tempo in another. That would probably work out okay. But when it comes time to really be performing at your best, you want to be certain that the work you're doing is going to be effective and that it's going to take you in a certain direction. So make sure you're not clouding your body, you know, your body's ability to decipher what you want it to do and what you want it to adapt to, by making sure that you're sending those consistent signals to the body with the rep schemes you choose, with the duration of effort you choose, with the type of work, whether it's high output work or it's more endurance oriented work, and then also the exercises you select. You don't want to do so many different exercises that you can't really predict which ones are going to actually have an effect on the body. And I think if you approach training this way, where each day or each session that you're doing, this includes the track as well, that if you're targeting qualities in a pretty directed manner, then you're going to have a higher probability of seeing improvement in those qualities you're trying to improve, rather than if you were to just throw a bunch of things at the wall and hope that they all stick. That's simply not going to work. Our body is an adaptive mechanism that adapts to the stresses imposed upon it. So the more stresses we impose on the body, the less we can be sure which of those it's going to adapt to. So hopefully this helps. When you go out to the gym, don't worry about doing too many different things. Just focus on a few things at a time, get really good at those things, and then reassess what you need to work on from there. And if you do that over time, you'll probably have a better, you know, likelihood of your strength training and your gym work transferring to the track in a way that is effective, that develops the qualities you need, and that allows you to become the best athlete possible.